So we're on chapter two. We're going to finally start chapter two after weeks and weeks of not doing anything because of like holidays and festivals and this and that, rides,
Yeah, Jim must.
Janmashtami weekend. How was your weekend? Did you go anywhere for Janmashtami? Did you go to the up to Moon for the?
Nah, I didn't go anywhere.
I don't go anywhere or do anything, but I just went to New York City and I took a picture of Radha Muralidhar at the Bhakti Center, and there was a woman giving class there, a very intelligent woman who wrote several books. Her name is Urmila Devidasi. She is the one of the heirs to the Manischewitz fortune. Her father, I think, was the Manischewitz, the Jewish businessman who makes Jewish kosher products.
Wait,
But
what's it called? Manischewitz?
Manischewitz, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you might have heard of that product.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think I've heard of that, but yeah, I mean,
You
Squirrel
know,
Hill is predominantly Jewish.
yeah, kosher products is, yeah, that means it's been blessed by some rabbis. But anyway, yeah, she gave a really nice class about patience and surrender, and no, patience and tolerance. And I asked a question at the end of the class. The Bhakti Center classes every morning from about 7:15. It goes, for about 45 minutes, and then they have an after program too, where you can continue to ask questions and answers. So that's every day. If you're interested, I can send you a link to that if you're free sometime in the morning. It's
I'm
general.
still sleeping then.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
7:15 is
I think
when
too.
the actual when the actual Bhagavatam class starts, which is late actually for a class.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, I mean, usually, I mean, the kirtan, they have a kirtan after as a greeting of the deities.
Hmm.
But usually, I mean, in New Vrindavan, the Mangal Arati starts at 5 a.m.
Uh, oh yeah, I remember the Rath Yatra that I went to last year. It was
Uh,
like Rajras Prabhuji was like, all right, it starts at 5 a.m. or he was picking me up around 5 a.m.
Rajras, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's the Mangal Arati is it starts at 5, and um the Guru Puj, and then after that they have Tulsi Puj and the Sringadev prayers, and then they have a class I think is at 8 o'clock after some time for japa, and then they have
Ah.
breakfast at 9:30 a.m.
So class and then japa. Oh yeah. Well, I call it mata. That's the word I come to
Ma
know. But mata, japa, same thing.
Yeah, mala is the term, isn't it? Or mada. I don't know if you call it different. Mada.
Uh,
Mala. Mala is what
I
japa mala. Those are beads. Mala means beads.
okay.
But you might have a different
Or
word.
I say mata. Yep.
Yeah, it might have a different
Or
word for it. I don't know. But anyway, that's the important thing is mala. Japa mala is very, very, very important. If you can chant as much as possible throughout the day, that's part of my name. Actually, my name is Shikshasaka, and it says Kirtaniya Sadahari, which means you can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly if you have a good attitude. The attitude is humbler than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree. In other words, you can cut a tree, you can burn it, you can chop it up, you can stand there in the winter or in the summer, and it doesn't mind. And ready to offer all respects to others, but not expecting no respect in return. If you have that state of mind, you can chant Hare Krishna all the time. It's just a matter of preparing your mind in that mood of humility, tolerance, and respect, and and not expecting any respect for yourself. So that is what actually Urmila was speaking about, and I asked a question about that at the end of the class. I put it up on, if you want to watch it sometime, it's on my timeline. It says Urmila Devi Dasi talking about humility and tolerance. But
Okay.
you're on Facebook, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's on my timeline. But anyway, we're going to start here before it gets too late. Chapter 2. This is the first chapter of the that starts the waves of the last chapter was the characteristics of pure devotion. And this is actually talking about devotion here, the first stages of devotion. And we'll just take turns reading paragraphs. I'll read the first one, and you can read the next one.
All right.
2. First stages of devotion. The three categories of devotional service which Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī describes in Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu are listed as devotional service in practice, devotional service in ecstasy, and devotional service in pure love of Godhead. There are many subheadings in each of these categories. Generally, it is understood that in the category of devotional service in practice, there are two different qualities. Devotional service in ecstasy has 4 qualities, and devotional service in pure love of Godhead has 6 qualities. These qualities will be explained by Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī later on. Go ahead.
All righty. In this connection, wait, let me check my battery. Okay, I need to get my charger.
Okay.
So,
Do you want me to continue reading while you get your charger?
yeah.
Okay.
Don't forget.
In this connection, Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī suggests that the person eligible for Krishna consciousness or devotional service can be classified by his particular taste. He says that devotional service is a continual process from one's previous life. No one can take to devotional service unless he has had some previous connection with it. For example, suppose in this life I practice devotional service to some extent. Even though it is not 100% perfectly performed, whatever I have done will not be lost. In my next life, from the very point where I stop in this life, I shall begin again. In this way, there is always a continuity. But even if there is no continuity, if only by chance a person takes interest in a pure devotee's instructions, he can be accepted and can advance in devotional service. Anyway, for persons who have a natural taste for understanding books like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, devotional service is easier than for those who are simply accustomed to mental speculation and argumentative processes. You got it? You got your charger?
Yep.
Okay, you can read the next 2 paragraphs then
Yeah.
to support this.
Yeah. To support the statement, there are many authoritative assertions by the learned scholars of bygone ages. According to their general opinion, a person may become governed by certain convictions derived by his own arguments and decisions. Then another person who may be a greater logician, it's the first time I heard that word, will nullify these conclusions and establish another thesis. In this way, the path of argument will never be safe or conclusive. Srimad Bhagavatam recommends, therefore, that one follow in the footsteps of the authorities. Here is a general description of devotional service given by Sri Rūpa Gosvāmī in his Bhakti Rasam Rasamra Rasamra
R with a dot below it is pronounced Re. Rāsāmṛta-sindhu.
Bhakti-rasāmṛta-sindhu. Okay. Thank you. Previously, it has been stated that devotional service can be divided into 3 categories. namely devotional service and practice, devotional service and ecstasy, and devotional service and pure love of God. Now Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī proposes to describe devotional service and practice.
See, this is the topic of this first stages of devotion. Now, devotional service and practice means Vaidhi Bhakti. Vaidhi Bhakti means devotional service and practice. So practice means employing our senses in some particular type of work. Therefore, devotional service and practice means utilizing our different sensory organs in service to Krishna. In other words, hearing, thinking, feeling. Some of the senses are meant for acquiring knowledge, and some are meant for executing the conclusions of our thinking, feeling, and willing. So practice means employing both the mind and the senses in practical devotional service. This practice is not for developing something artificial. For example, a child learns or practices to walk. This walking is not unnatural. The walking capacity is there, originally in the child, and simply by a little practice, he walks very nicely. Were you at the last Zoom class that I was giving? Because I just saw this clip of this. They had like a baby race, and a baby crawling race. You know, they lined up a whole bunch of babies to make it like crawl across the gymnasium floor, and they all
Oh
started
no.
crawling, but then all of a sudden this one baby just got up and started walking. Is the
Oh
first time the
wow.
baby started walking ever, and it just walked over to its mom, so it was like pretty cute, you know. But see, so walking is not unnatural. The
So when
baby
was
did it
that?
himself. He didn't even have to practice because it was just a natural tendency to walk, because that's
I
human beings do. They start crawling. First they just like kind of they come out of the womb and they just roll around, but then they start crawling on their hands and knees and then they start walking. That's just how they go from one place to another, you know.
yeah. Well, when was your last class? That was Thursday or no, wait,
It
Thursday?
was actually about a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, yeah. Thursday was Kirtan, right? And I remember some Kirtan Prabhuji, your
Yeah,
friend.
yeah, that was nice.
Yep.
A nice program. I really
His
like.
story, it is such beautiful and beautifully said.
Yeah, I mean he's a storyteller. That's his. I mean he's been a storyteller, but he was actually a thespian. You know what a thespian is? Thes
Something with religion.
thespian means he was a theatrical actor and drama. You know, he would present plays. He did the whole Ramayana at the palace. He filmed it actually. There's a film of it, and they all dressed up, and the palace is a perfect setting for that. But anyway, yeah, he's a skilled actor and an author, and he really knows how to tell a story. He's a little older than I am, he's probably about 8 years older. He's had two heart attacks, so we have to take advantage of his association while he's still around. But he is a very good storyteller, very deep thinker. He has very much a lot of knowledge about Mahabharata and Ramayana. He wrote a book on each of those. He wrote the Mahabharata book, and he wrote a book about Hanuman. You know Hanuman?
Yep, I know Hanuman.
Yeah.
I grew up Hindu Jain temple, so I'll be familiar with the deities.
Yeah, I went to when I went to India, there's huge 30-foot tall Hanuman statues on the side of the road up near Hrishikesh.
Up near Rishikesh, you said.
Yeah, up near the Ganges in northern India.
Ah, Ganga. Okay.
So the walking capacity is there originally in the child, and simply by a little practice, he walks very nicely. Similarly, devotional service to the Supreme Lord is the natural instinct of every living entity. Even uncivilized men, like the Aborigines, offer their respectful obeisances to something wonderful exhibited by nature's laws, and they appreciate that behind some wonderful exhibition or action there is something supreme. So, this consciousness, though lying dormant in those who are materially contaminated, is found in every living entity, and when purified, this is called Krishna consciousness. You can read the next couple of paragraphs here, starting with there are certain prescribed methods.
Yep. There are certain prescribed methods for employing our senses and mind in such a way that our dormant consciousness for loving Krishna will be invoked, as much as the child with a little practice can begin to walk. One who has no basic walking capacity cannot walk by practice. Similarly, Krishna consciousness cannot be aroused simply by practice. Actually, there is no such practice. When we wish to develop our innate capacity for devotional service, there are certain processes which, by our accepting and executing them, will cause that dormant capacity to be invoked. Such practice is called sadhana bhakti.
You have any questions about that?
Um,
It's kind of
yes.
contradictory because it says it can't be aroused by practice, and there is no such practice. But there are certain processes by our accepting and executing them will cause by our dormant capacity to be invoked. That practice is called sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti is the practice of devotional service. In other words, getting up in the morning, bathing, going to the temple, hearing the holy name, offering flowers and incense, offering candles, praying to the deity, serving the spiritual master, accepting, and listening to his instructions, reading the scripture. These things are sadhana bhakti. We're not on the platform of spontaneously executing devotional service. Like the residents of Vrindavan, they all love Krishna already. They're already in love with Krishna. They don't need to practice, or they don't need to practice even sadhana bhakti because they're already in love spontaneously with Krishna. It's just a natural position. Everybody is originally Krishna conscious, but we've just forgotten our relationship with him, and therefore we're involved in so many other things besides Krishna consciousness. So
Uh,
therefore, there's certain things that we can do in order to awaken our dormant capacity of Krishna consciousness, and that process is called sadhana bhakti. Go ahead and read the second paragraph.
all right. Yep. Actually, I have a question. So, by saying, yeah, it's confusing because they say like there is no such practice, but let's see.
But
Uh,
you can execute certain processes which can cause the dormant capacity to be invoked. In other words, the dormant capacity is there in everybody,
yeah,
but it has to be invoked. And that mercy, see, if you approach Krishna, you take one step toward Krishna, Krishna takes 10 steps toward you. And when Krishna is pleased by our sincere endeavor to awaken our own dormant Krishna consciousness, he is like he gives us the torch of knowledge by listening to the spiritual master, by understanding his words, by associating with pure devotees. That dormant consciousness is invoked in our hearts. Just like when Narada Muni, his mother was a maidservant, and she used to serve the sadhus that would come during Kartik, which is like during the rainy season. The sadhus would travel around in all the other times, but when it was rainy season, they would need some place to stay. And so she was serving these sadhus, and her son, in a previous incarnation, would help her, and he would listen to the sadhus talk about Krishna, and he would also he asked if he could have a little bit of the remnants of their food that were left over on their plates, and they gave him permission to eat that prasadam. And so, by that association, by hearing, he developed an attraction. His dormant Krishna consciousness was invoked. That's what it's talking about.
Uh-huh.
That's the bhakti process. When you associate with devotees, you hear, you take prasadam. That is invoking uh, your dormant Krishna consciousness. It awakens. It's already there, and you can't practice it, but it means that it's like an awakening. It's like the
Right, because it's there, like kind of like a dormant volcano.
right. You know, like when
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada came to America, he was sitting in the airport one time, and some reporters were asking him a question: "Why have you come here to America?" And he said, "I've come here um, to remind you of what you have forgotten, the devotional service to Krishna." So that is what the pure devotee does. He didn't have to come here. They weren't even asking him to come here. But by the order of his spiritual master, his duty was to execute his order. Krishna wants all of the living entities to come back to him. And so the spiritual master, he kindly gives up his own situation. He had a very comfortable situation in Vrindavan in India, but he gave that all up for the sake of executing Krishna's desire to spread Krishna consciousness, even though nobody was interested. Everybody else here in this country were doing different things. They weren't interested in Krishna consciousness. They didn't ask him to come here, but he came because his spiritual master asked him to, and because he knew that that is also Krishna's desire. Krishna feels something wanting if the living entities that are separated parts and parcels are not with him, just like a husband will want to wake up his wife for enjoyment. So similarly, Krishna wants all of the living entities to come back to him and dance in the dance of love, the rasa dance. And so therefore, he comes himself, or he sends his representatives, like the spiritual master, to awaken our dormant Krishna consciousness. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yes.
Not a matter of practice because you can't, it's not like, you practice the violin and then you become expert. This is something that's not learned externally. It's actually an awakening process. It's a revealing process. It's a revelation, not an external conditioning or practice. It's a or technical skill. It's actually an awakening. Just like a baby learns to walk, we can learn our Krishna conscious uh, our constitutional position is servant of Krishna. That's who we are. We are servants of Krishna. We're not, we may think that we're John Doe and we're like, I'm a banker or I'm a politician or whatever. These are all external activities, but our real constitutional nature, our dharma, is servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. When we become servants of the servants, then Krishna is pleased and he reveals himself within our hearts. He shines a torchlight of knowledge. We're all born in the darkness of ignorance, but he opens our eyes with the torch of knowledge. That's what the spiritual master does. And then when our dormant consciousness is awakened, then we can naturally go step by step and develop a relationship with Krishna, and then eventually develop love of God. There's six different there's different aspects of that manifestation, and there's different steps, and this is all covered in this book, step
Uh,
by step. And this is the beginning stages of the steps. See, where did I leave off here? Okay, so
uh, was it above the or
you
above
had a
that
question.
paragraph?
Like action. Okay. Um, this person
Oh
conscious.
yeah, it looks like that one above. There are
There
like
are okay. You can. Wait, I think we read that one. Why don't you read this one?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Every living entity under the spell.
Okay. Every living entity under the spell of the material energy is held to be in an abnormal condition of madness. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, generally the conditioned soul is mad because he is always engaged in activities that are the causes of bondage and suffering. Sounds right. The spirit and in his original condition, spirit soul in his original condition is joyful, blissful, eternal, and full of knowledge. Only by his implication in material activities has he become miserable, temporary, and full of ignorance. This is due to vikarma. Vikarma. Vikarma means actions which should not be done. Therefore, we must practice sadhana bhakti, which means to offer our Mangala Arati, the deity worship, in the morning, to refrain from certain material activities, to offer obeisances to the spiritual master, and to follow many other rules and regulations that will be discussed here one after another. These practices will help one become cured of madness. As a man's mental disease is cured by the direction of a psychiatrist, so this sadhana bhakti cures the conditioned soul of his madness under the spell of Maya, material illusion.
Yeah, that's true. I have personal experience of that. I was crazy before became a devotee. I was hearing voices. I was thinking that I could control other people's thoughts. I was thinking all kinds of crazy things, but my heart was in the right place. And so I wanted to go and visit a community in New Vrindavan, and I asked my psychiatrist. I was actually seeing a psychiatrist, and
Yeah.
I was, taking medication and everything.
Oh yeah, same here. I'm no that.
And so I asked the psychiatrist, I want to go to see this farm community in West Virginia, and he said, no, no, I don't think that's a good idea. I think we should just keep you here under observation. We should, you should take your medication. And I said, and I got mad. I got mad at the psychiatrist because I wanted to go. It was like my innermost heart's desire, even though I was crazy. My heart was in the right place. And so I got mad. I said, I don't care. I'm going anyway. And I just walked out of the door and slammed the door and I walked away and I didn't ever come back. And but like every single living entity in this material world is mad. They're all mad. Everybody's mad. Just like my wife, she goes to these nursing homes, and most of the people in nursing homes suffer some kind of disability. And mostly they're
Dementia, Alzheimer's, the most.
yeah, that, but also they're just crazy. They'll like one guy was like talking on the phone, and when she tries to talk to him, he'll hold up his finger as if he's talking to somebody, but nobody's there, and the phone doesn't even work. They're just nuts. And
Yeah.
so she affectionately calls her patients the nutty buddies.
I try not to use the word
No,
crazy or
don't
saying.
repeat that because
Yeah, I
but
know.
that's just like like she's going to like there's a lot of nutty buddies in that nursing home. But she
Yeah,
doesn't have any disrespect for them. But a lot of these people, and everyone in the material world, to a greater or lesser degree, are infected by madness because we're doing things that are opposed to our constitutional position. I made a meme once of these two nurses that were standing in front of this door, and they had the traditional white nurse's outfit, and behind was a door, and it had stenciled on it "Psych Ward." And then I put a picture, a actual sentence from one of Prabhupada's purports that says everybody in this material world is kind of like in a madhouse. Anybody that lives here in this material world is in a kind of a madhouse situation. They're in this psychotic ward because it's not, this is kind of like a prison house. It is a psych ward for people that are crazy. So, but if it weren't for Krishna consciousness, I would be in a psych ward or else dead. I'm sure, because
Yeah.
I was taking drugs, I was drinking, I was doing all kinds of crazy things. And if it wasn't for Krishna consciousness, the Krishna consciousness and sadhana bhakti cures the conditioned soul of his madness under the spell of illusion. And so, it's very, very fortunate to be able to become cured from that kind of thing because it's just such a suffering situation. Everybody's suffering in this material world.
Yeah.
There's two types of people that don't suffer. Like you either have to be a pure devotee or you have to be like a drunk, completely intoxicated. Like if you ask a drunken that's laying in the gutter, "How are you, sir?" And you say, "Yeah, I'm fine."
Yeah, no,
And also the pure
Emperor
devotee, he's
State.
truly happy because he's always serving Krishna. He's happy too, but everybody else in between, to a greater or lesser degree, is suffering. And they're trying to get out of the suffering, but they don't know how. Nobody knows the path to happiness. This is the path of happiness. And it's all laid out in this book. It's the process of sadhana bhakti, cures the conditioned soul of this madness. Um, do you have any questions? Because we're gonna have to stop here. It's already 7:44.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, like I understand like, it's saying madness, but like not madness necessarily in like feeling angry per se.
Yeah, not that that's not what he means by madness. He means
Wow.
madness means uh it's like thinking Maya or the cure of madness. Maya means thinking something is something, but it's not that. Just like thinking a rope is a snake. If you think a rope is a snake, then you become very afraid of the rope. But it's not really a rope. It's not really a snake. It's a rope. So you're mistakenly thinking something that is what it's not. So that's what everybody
Yeah.
thinks to some degree, a little bit illusion because we think we're the body. We think I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm Indian, I'm Jewish. We think all of these different designations of our bodily conception of life, and that is not really who we are. So, to the extent that we think that we are a certain thing, I'm Mr. So and so, I work in so and so, that is not really who we are. We're eternal servants of Krishna. That's who we are. So, to the extent that we're not engaged in that service, that to that extent we are mad. Everyone in this,
Yeah. I guess like I know for me particularly, I go to Sally and Howard Living Clubhouse, which is psych social rehab, non-clinical, and it's good. But I'm like, yeah, you know, I usually don't use the word insane or crazy, but in certain cases, I'm like, yep, it definitely is.
yeah, I mean, like if you just look at the material civilization is very advanced in so many different ways. Everybody's so smart, but we have all these attachments and repulsions, and we're always fighting with each other, and we don't know how to get along. We can make an iPhone, we can make all this wonderful technology, we can go to the moon, we can do this, we can do that, but we can't even, you know, solve our problems here on this planet or even maintain a family. It says that if you maintain a family in the Kali Yuga in this degraded age, you're known as like a hero because it's so hard. You have to do all this. Uh, you know, my friend, he was a brahmachari. He wasn't married. He said, "I can't even take care of myself. What to speak of a wife?" So anyway, that's the
That kind of
situation.
said along
A
that
lot
line.
it's a very difficult situation to be in this material world and have some kind of sanity. Unless you're guided by the spiritual master and Krishna, we really don't know what to do. We don't not know how to act. We don't know what is right. We don't know what is wrong. We don't know how we can uncover our dormant Krishna consciousness. But this book will tell you how to uncover your dormant Krishna consciousness, so everything will be clear and you'll understand which way to go. What is the path? Just like it says in the Bible, the path is very narrow, but the way to hell is large. The pathway to hell that's a highway to hell. You go so many different ways.
Mhm.
That's why it says in the Bhagavad Gita, those who are irresolute is the path is many branched, but the determination of those on this path is one, and their consciousness is fixed on me, and from within their hearts I enlighten them, and they can get knowledge revealed by Krishna. So that's the path to be on. Every other path is not is leads to ignorance and bondage and madness. But this is the only path to be on, and there's only one. There might be different faiths, but if your pathway or your faith or your sect or your religion leads you to the path of surrender and service to God, then that is a real religion. And you can understand religion from irreligion based on that. My spiritual master said, show me your love of God. If you claim to be a religious person, show me. You'll understand by the fruit of their behavior, by their activities and qualities, that if he's a devotee or not, by their
Ah,
behavior, by their characteristic, by their way of speaking, by their way of doing everything. That is a characteristic of a devotee. A devotee has so many characteristics. He's gentle, he's knowledgeable, he's patient, he's surrendered, he's tolerant, he's merciful, so many different things. And all those qualities are there in Krishna too, but they have to be awakened into our consciousness, in our hearts, so that we can be like that all the time too. And then we can live, and everybody will be pleased with us and will be friendly to all living entities and not offend them or be inimical or cause wars or, fight with everybody and be envious and that's what the world needs. The world needs
yeah.
to teach this process of awakening our dormant Krishna consciousness. This is the most important thing. There's nothing more important than this process of understanding who we really are. Because it seems like when everybody's like going to school to learn how to get a job, to learn how to do different skills, first of all, you should pretty much know who you are before you do anything. Before you get a job, before you get married, you should understand who you are, right? First of all, I mean, everybody's putting the cart before the horse. We should understand who we are first and then make decisions as far as our life is concerned. Life is so short. We should get our act together in this lifetime before um, we fall into another path. Who knows what we're going to be in our next life? We could be a dog or a cat, you know, and then we'd have to go through the process of evolution again. But in this human form of life, we can understand this Krishna conscious activity and gradually, step by step, be taken back to Godhead. So that's what this book talks about. This is just the beginning stage. So we're going to pick up from this point. Narada Muni mentions this sadhana bhakti. From that paragraph, we'll start at let's see, when is the next program? Sunday night.
Or is it Friday or no?
Is there one Friday?
Yeah.
No, it's Sunday and Tuesday. The Friday, I usually do my program with Sankirtan. Sankirtan and I do a Friday program.
Is that at 6?
Yeah, that's at 6. And we didn't have it last time because
And
I gave somebody a ride. I was taking those people to from Niagara Falls to New Vrindavan,
ah,
and that's why I didn't have it on Friday. And I
was
didn't.
that your own car or
Yeah, well, Mother
company
Jayashree,
car?
she's an elderly woman from New Vrindavan. She arranges all the rides for pilgrims that come to the farm from wherever.
Ah,
And so she contacted me because I live north and it would be closer for me to go and pick them up. And this was just like they were just coming in. And um, so I picked them up in Niagara Falls near Canada.
Mm.
Actually, I could see Canada. Niagara Falls, as you go up to Niagara Falls, America, you can see the Canadian buildings on the other side of the river there.
And I remember the time on vacation, my brother wasn't there. My parents, we were on the Canadian side of the Niagara Falls.
Oh, really? You went
And
over to
it's,
the Canadian side. We walked across it actually in 2001, my wife and I. It's actually really nice. We went across the Rainbow Bridge. And then on the other side, everything's clean and everybody's nice, you know. It's a lot nicer than America. Everybody like is very polite and you know, they say, you know, they'll even apologize even if they didn't do anything. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
yeah,
You don't do anything wrong, you still apologize. But
they're
like
better.
Canada, you know, I wanted to move to Canada, you know, my wife would have too, but we're too old for that stuff. We can't move. Even though that this whole country, America, is going to hell right now. We
Yeah.
we're too old to move. It's too much trouble. You know, I'm 70 years old, and I can hardly even go up the stairs hardly anymore. You know, without pain. We're probably going to have to. Both of us will probably get one of those acorn scare lifts that you go up the stairs on a riding thing. You know,
Mm.
yeah. Sooner or later, probably have to get one of those because our bedroom's upstairs. You know, but I can. It's hard for me to get around nowadays. You know. But
Mm.
yeah, that's just a symptom of old age, and you know, nobody lasts forever. Yeah, but we're
Yep.
too
The
move.
body's temporary.
Yes, for sure. The soul is eternal, though. That's the main thing we have to remember, you know. No matter how much our body aches and pains or whatever, we're not the body, we're a spirit soul, and we can tolerate it as long as we're Krishna conscious, because Krishna, it kind of minimizes all the bodily uh, aches and pains. You know, when Bhakti-rasāmṛta Swami was a famous guru, he was dying because he had foot cancer
Mm.
and he was in tremendous pain, and they had to give him a bath and you know, he would be in the bathtub and Radhanath Swami would read to him when he was like writhing in pain. It was so much painful. And so, you know, he was reading to him the Krishna book as he was um, bathing to get rid of the pain. And he looked up at Radhanath Swami and he said, you know, despite this, I don't think there's anything anywhere I would like to be other than being with you here, hearing from you this about Krishna. You know, so even though he was in so much
Ah,
pain, he was really Krishna conscious. And so that's, you know, if I get a hangnail, I can't even do anything. You know, it's like but he was, you know, when you become a real pure devotee, it doesn't matter what happens. You're all, you know, you're protected by Krishna, and you don't have any fear of anything, even death.
ah. Yeah, I know for me, like, it helps. Like, I can feel like a huge difference. It's like with whether it's like, mental health, addiction,
Yeah,
and I'm like, yeah, it's easier to manage temptations whenever, you do the
because you get a higher taste, you know. You eat
chanting
higher,
and doing
so
mara.
like what
Right, right.
I understand that because I used to go to bars and stuff and drink. And then, you know, I would still go to bars when I became interested in Krishna consciousness, but I wouldn't go there and drink alcohol. I'd just have a 7 Up. After a while, I just said, why am I going here? You know, wasn't even interested in picking up women or anything like that. I would just go there and have a 7 Up and then leave. And I wasn't even interested in drinking anymore. So it's kind of like once you get on the path, the lower attractions and addictions just kind of vanish, and you're just not interested anymore. Just like
Uh,
this one king, he was a king, and he had all kinds of facilities for enjoyment with women. But he said, you know, now that I've engaged in the service of Radha and Krishna, whenever I think of sex life with a woman, my lips curl in distaste and I spit at the thought. So that's the level of Krishna consciousness that we really want to be on because that's the most attractive thing in the world is this you know this sex desire, but you can actually become totally Krishna consciousness is even higher than that. So that way, in that way, we can actually come to the higher platform and enjoy eternally instead of just temporarily, or whatever our addiction is. That's what it says in the 12-step program. You ever heard of the Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous?
Yeah, I've heard of in the 12-step
One of the
program.
first
I don't really know what all is in that, but
Well, one of the main principles is that you have to have a higher power. You can't control
ah,
it by yourself. You can't
nice.
do, by practice, you can't uh, control yourself or your habits or your addictions by yourself. You have to have a higher power. And so that was like based on a Christian guy who started this whole thing. But it's true. It doesn't matter who you are and doesn't matter what faith you believe in. You have to connect with that higher power. For me, the way I gave up all my addictions is by reading Prabhupada's books. And that gave me a higher taste. So we just have to get the higher taste, and then all the lower tastes just you're not even interested in anymore. It's like a waste of time. Because it's just temporary. The attraction of the senses to the sense objects is just a temporary thing. And so why should we be engaged in that when you can have like an ocean of happiness that is ever increasing? We don't
Right.
understand how, nobody can really understand how you could be happy forever in an ever increasing way. Like if you wanted to eat, if you wanted to enjoy something like watching TV or eating ice cream or something, there's only so much you can do before you get sick of it. But Krishna consciousness is anandam buddhivardhanam, which means an ever increasing ocean of ecstatic enjoyment. It's that taste that which we're always anxious for, and we want that, but we don't know how to get it. But this book will tell us how to get it because this is from Lord Chaitanya himself. He's teaching this through Rupa Goswāmī. Rupa Goswāmī is the representative of Lord Chaitanya who knows his mind. He says every morning we say this prayer, Sri Rupa, um, Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam. Mano means mind. He knows the mind of Lord Chaitanya. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yeda Bhutale. Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam, which means Rupa Goswami. When will Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter of his lotus feet? He's established this desire because he wrote all these books. He wrote the desire of Lord Chaitanya down in these books. And so therefore he's established the desire of Lord Chaitanya within this material world. And so therefore we're all Rupanugas. We're all followers of Rupa Goswami. And
Ah,
he can show us how to go back to Godhead. And this is the beginning chapters right now. So stick with it and we can go back to Godhead together.
yep,
So thank you very much, Prabhuji. It is 8
yep.
o'clock now, so we've gone overtime. But I thank you for joining, and
Yes.
at least we have two guys, Srimad Bhagavatam or devotionals, Nectar of Devotion. It's better than nobody. Because
I'll
I
have to
you can have the you can get on Friday too if hopefully uh, Sankirtan Krishna willing, he'll be able to he usually picks a topic himself because he's a senior godbrother, and so I trust him to pick a topic. He tries to just like he did at the the
get
Kirtan Center. He talked about Janmashtami and he kind of related it to what was going on in the world. Like we're all refugees in this material world. And just like the Yadu dynasty, where they're all refugees because they're fleeing from Kamsa. So similarly, even Krishna himself was a refugee, because he had to go to Vrindavan to escape um, Kamsa because he was trying to kill him. So anyway, I'll see you on Friday, hopefully.
yeah. Probably for all right. Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Hare Bol.